So I've built lots of altars over the years, lots of different types. I have changed the way I do altars. Some aspects have stuck, some aspects I've let go of. I've had many insecurities around altar building. Some of those insecurities have stuck, some I've let go of. So when I had a request from a viewer asking me to talk about what makes an altar, because they want to build their very first altar and they're not sure how to go about it, I knew I would have some thoughts. So in this video, I'm going to take you around the altars I've currently got, and we're just going to talk about them. I'm going to try and clarify for you, and possibly for me, what I think makes an altar and how you can go about building them for yourself. Gosh, this is such a big subject. I'm not even really sure where to start or what to cover. It's one of those videos, but this space behind me in the corner of my bedroom, that's probably one of my bigger, what I call altar spaces. It's also a working space. So it could be called a shelf. It could be called a desk. It could be called a working space. It could be called a writing bureau. I choose to call it an altar because of my intent. So I think the first thing that makes an altar is probably one of the most important things is intent, like how you view it. Your altars are about you. So what is my intent? It's for me to have somewhere to go to ground and to sit quietly. I meditate there, I'll light candles there, I'll give offerings there, and it's for me to connect. So I think you've got two really important words there for what makes an altar: connection and intent. I think an altar can be for lots of different uses depending on your intent, but I think through most of those intent reasons there is an element of wanting to connect. So if you've had deity call, it's connecting with deity. If you have got an ancestor altar, it's connecting with ancestors and spirits. If you are completely not into all of that side of it and you just want somewhere to go and sit and be quiet and do self-care, you're connecting with yourself. It could just be you're connecting with energy, source energy, and you're connecting with the elements or nature. So connection is huge, and who you're connecting with changes depending on you. You're the central force of the altar, but I think if you approach altar building with those two key words in your mind: intent, what are you trying to do, and connection, and then you think, well, what am I trying to connect with here, then that's a really good grounding for altar work. This is my little corner of the bedroom. I have like a little wicker chair here that's really nice and comfy to sit in, and it looks very different to how this used to look. This part of the altar is the evolvement of where I began. So when I first came to witchcraft and a pagan spirituality, I realized it was linking into kind of a druidic path that I'd always been involved in as a gardener. Immediately I was taken down the idea of the wheel of the year and the seasons changing, because it's something that I knew from gardening. So you'll see here, my first altars were very much based around the Sabbats and the wheel of the year and that idea of nature changing. So when I was coming to these altars to sit and meditate at, it was to really connect with where I was in nature outside my window. So coming back to my current day altar, you can see it's really reduced down. It's only this tiny little bit. So why did I change it? I quickly began to realise I didn't need all of the symbols of the Sabbat because I was getting that out in my garden. And it made me then realise that my garden, my magic garden, is my altar, and I wanted to take it more outside. And I realised that walking through the woods and communing with the woods and seeing the woods change felt like my altar. So that's why it's really changed. So in here, but I've kept this one little wreath here that I just add in different flowers as we go through the year, different flowers to represent the turning of the wheel. I like the circle and it just, that for me is my nod to, you know, I'm coming to this space and I do want to be connected with the energy of where we are in the year. So there are just a few elements now for the Wheel of the Year, because it's still important to me. I still want that connection. But I've also got some ancestor pictures. So this is a picture of my dad when he was young in the war, in the parachute regiment. So I've got that old picture there. And then this picture is an image. My Auntie Doreen is there in the white. And then my dad's mum is second in. And then that line of older ladies behind, I don't know who any of them are, but in my mind, they're my circle of grey-haired crones that are looking after me. So I do come here to connect with ancestors. I have candles that I light. I have crystals. This big pink quartz is something that my dad gave me in a vision. I work with the HaloQuest here as well. I have nods to Bridget, because Bridget is for healing. What else do I have on here? So the swan is for Bridget. This little egg here opens up. That's for spell work for my children. And then I have my oils, perfume oils that I work with, that I keep on the altar, so that when I put them on in the morning, I draw a pentagram on my wrist in the morning as a morning ritual. I feel like I've done something at my altar, and I feel like I'm carrying magic away with me all the time. And then this desk out in front, which closes, I can do tarot readings here. I do the HaloQuest here. I can journal here. I can put spell work on here if I'm doing spell work. And it just feels like a really sacred space to come and sit and work. And all of these things are sacred because of the intent I've got behind them. There's a lot of connection here. There's a lot of intent. It's very pared down to what it was. It is all useful. It's not performative, and I love it. Cleansing, come over here. I use sound for cleansing because I am very adverse to the smell of smoke. I do struggle with it. I have my scrying bowl. I keep my scrying bowl with water in and floating candles, because this is the west of my room. So when I'm calling in a circle, I call these corners like mini altars. So there's always something to do with water in this corner. Sometimes there's a crystal that I've got that's full of water as well. This corner of my room is north, and to represent north and earth, I've got my money box, and I've also got this doll, which is like a homely mom who's cooking a pie. Very earth-based, very north. This corner of my bedroom is east, and I always keep a yellow candle with bunnies for the east. And then over here on the top shelf of this main altar is south, which is for fire. So I've got this doll that looks like a very summer doll with a sun next to her. That's for the fire. So those are just tiny little objects placed around the room that match directions. So north, earth, east, wind, south and fire, and the west and water. I call those my mini altars, and you can see literally it's just an object that represents it. You won't see me do the Pinterest altar setup where you've got like a athame, you've got a wand, and you've got a cauldron, and you've got different things on all set out in the correct place. I don't do that. I know some people do. I don't, and that was one of my insecurities which I've let go of. I was very worried that I wasn't doing it right. So if we come up to the big altar on the top, I think you'll see that I decided to just purely embrace what sets my soul on fire, the things that I love. It just seems completely obvious to me that if you're trying to connect with yourself or the universe or source or energy or deity or ancestors or gods or goddesses, if you're trying to make some sort of connection and do powerful spell work and to raise energy for spell work at an altar, that altar should be absolutely full of the things that set your heart on fire, so that when you come to that altar and use it, you're already in a space that you're just ecstatic about. Now, I call this my tarot altar because tarot is the main tool that I use. And I love using tarot, and but I also love using dolls as well. So this altar tells a story, and you don't have to do it with dolls. You could tell a story with witchcraft objects or thrifted objects or ornaments or photographs of your life. You could set up an altar where the objects actually tell a story, and then you pull cards around that story. So for me, this is kind of chronological. You've got this cottage here. Now, when I saw this cottage, this roof here that comes out from this bedroom reminded me very much of my childhood bedroom when I was a kid, because I had a flat roof that I used to climb out on, and as a little kid I would climb out in the middle of the night and lay on the roof and talk to the fairies. So that's why there's angels and fairies all around this flat roof. But this childhood home is also something that mentally I'm still struggling to break free from. So when somebody sent me this amazing Monster High doll, because it represents Sagittarius, which I am, I just knew I had to place her breaking out of the window, so breaking out into magic. And the octopus at the top, when I stepped into spirituality, there were some animal spirits that stepped forward that I work with, and the octopus energy literally at times saved my life. Secrets under the bed, I keep my let go card, and every morning or so I pull a new let go card and put it on my old childhood bed to remind me of a let go message. It's a continual spell of letting go and breaking out. Currently I'm working with the Starseed Oracle on and here. Then whatever card I pull, I'll place in a set place on the altar to give it extra power. Now, the lava lamp in the middle is a nod to my deity on here. So I work mainly with the Morrigan. The Morrigan kicks my butt. Stronger, stronger, stronger is a mantra. And a fiery lava lamp, when I like that, it reminds me that the Morrigan's there and she's got expectations. So that's why the lava lamp is there. It also looks damn cool. Now, in this kitchen area, looked over by the fairy, there is a working spell that I've currently got going. To activate that when I'm working with it, I will just light that candle there. There is another one over here. So you've got things here that represent like the ocean. The ocean is more important to me. I also have a little Mother Mary alcove here that I do work with. There's a reference to the moon here. There's all sorts going on, guys. I'll often pull just a word for the week from this gorgeous little deck. This week's word is compassion. This deck is by Holly, Laramia Tide. It's her deck. It's just like a really gorgeous mandala keyword mini deck, which I love. I'll often pull a Frida card as well. So Frida is somebody that I work with, and just a reminder for a creative focus for the week. So you can see it aids in a daily practice. It aids in things to focus on, to connect with myself. There are working spells ongoing about stepping into power, and yet there isn't a wand, there isn't an athame, there isn't a cauldron, there isn't a single thing inside that you would normally see if you googled how do I make a pagan altar. There's just nothing on there. But what is on there are the things that mean something to me, and the things that tell my story, and the things that give me little areas to work in. Like I think like things to do. This room is for creativity. This is for self-love and like engulfing myself in a mother's lap. This is for action, like you've had to get up the ladder to get there, that's for action. This is for like nurturing here. I've also got Poppy from Trolls telling me to get back up again. This is about strength building. Sometimes put messages in there to myself, and I'll sometimes just play the music. So with its whirring motor, you can see that's perfect for putting spell words in. Crystals I've put in there before now to activate things. So my intent here is to connect with the spirits of tarot decks, connect with my deity, connect with myself, keep myself focused, and then if any card comes up, sometimes if I want to path work, I'll light candles up in this space, open a circle and path work with the card. It might be that later on I get this card down here and I place it down here, light candles around it, and then I'll do a meditation. On the wall overlooking it all is a picture of my dad when he was a little boy here. You know, everything here is sacred to me, has a meaning, tells a story, gives me a pathwork for moving forward all the time, connects me with nature, and yet it's just full of the things I love. So to this bookcase, which is housing some of my doll collection. This is a new shelf that I've recently done, and I've just used the word shelf because it's a shelf on a bookcase, but it's also an altar. This is more deity led. So my 3 deity that I work with the Morrigan, which is what the tree signifies because that's where crows live, with the crow above it. I work with Bridget. So the Morrigan brought Bridget to me, so sometimes I'm called to work with Bridget. That's what the swan represents. And then the two of them brought the Dagda in, and that's what this little mini cauldron represents here. So we've got the 3 objects here, but they aren't any sort of objects that you would find in a witchcraft shop. They were thrifted objects that just for me represented my deity. So whatever you're trying to represent on an altar, don't think you've got to go and spend a ton of money. I'm not only bringing my own loves to an altar, I'm giving my talents as well, because it's a two-way conversation in altar. It's what you want to give as offerings, and then you'll receive back as well. It's a two-way conversation. So I brought my skill as an artist. So this is a piece, it's a mixed media drawing I did, which is very personal to me, and it's about strength. So it seems perfect to go on a Morrigan altar. And then behind here is another mixed media drawing of a woman that's literally been tipped over a cliff and is falling down a crevasse, but she's being lifted out by crows, and that's very much the journey that I had with the Morrigan. So I drew that in honour of the Morrigan and my relationships. That's why that's on there. I love that. That feels like an offering altar to me. I bought my skills. I'll leave letters for the Morrigan on there. I'll put things in the cauldron to activate things, or in the swan. I'll light candles on there to give thanks. Also got dolls that represent different things on here for inner child work. This doll is one of my Morrigan dolls. This doll is a doll for strength. We have another white horse because, like I say, that was really important. I've got decks that I've dedicated to the Morrigan here with stones that I've dug out of the earth that I knew were there, that the Morrigan whispered she'd given me. I've got my key magic stone there, and there's a raven there. This red chandelier, when I light the candles in there, that is the key thing that I do for the Morrigan. I will light a candle and give thanks and say, this is for you. I always light those red candles if I'm pulling a Morrigan message spread. So this area is really important, as is this magic artwork. It speaks to me of going out the open door and freedom. Representative of something that's really important to me and ongoing, that I feel puts an air of that intent into this whole desk. That picture symbolises that. This is one of my own artworks, again bringing my own skills. Like, ask yourself, what skills do you have that you could put onto your altar? I'm very much one as well for finding things in nature that I think were gifted and I've got a voice in them. This stone over here is probably one of my most magical objects that I work with. It is incredible. I've also found broken heart stones just when I needed to. More magic artwork here. And then candles. I've got candles that represent different things. So this is my goddess candle, and I always like that first for the goddess. And this is my God candle. So the goddess and the god is represented. I've also got Mother Nature represented by this candle. Like I said, the red candle chandelier over there is for the Morrigan. So even the candles that I light, they've got a specific order that I've made up. Nobody's told me. It's what feels right for me in my practice, and that represent different things when I light them. Phew, is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. So what tools do I actually use on an altar? Well, toys, you can see I use toys, but anything to me that is representative of an energy that I can tap into. So I built this tarot, this Lego altar actually. It will hold a tarot card, but it is like Princess Leia's on here. I ordered a Princess Leia Lego figure to go on there. The little boy is representative of my dad looking after me, because he used to build us Christmas crackers every year, and that was in his Christmas cracker box. This little chest here has glitter inside it. That is representative of me not to forget my sparkle. I'll sometimes get the glitter and I'll sprinkle it over stuff to activate it with sparkle. This is an Avon bottle that represents the Blue Lady, which is a ghost that I was terrorized with as a kid. This is full of water that I collected in the place where the Blue Lady is supposed to live. There's magic water in there. What else have I got? In this box here, I have a collection of different stones, different crystals, all sorts of stones that I can bring out that got different meanings, that I can place in, say, pockets on the Lego altar or in swans. So another thing that you can use are like pieces of fabric to put down as an altar cloth first. You see altar cloths being used in traditional churches as well, where colour symbolism is used, even in Christian churches. And I used to do that a lot more on my altar when it wasn't quite so full. I would choose either like a sort of tarot reading cloth like this, or I might use just a piece of fabric. I might use a piece of fabric with embroidery on, or just a specific colour. So when you're starting an altar, you can even think about like the horizontal surface before you even start to add anything to it. Like, there's a lot of symbolism and intent and meaning that can be put on your altar that's specific to what you want the altar to be for, just in, say, the cloth that you put on. So you've got the horizontal first, then you can use, say, like pictures on the vertical on the walls around, and you haven't even started putting things onto the altar yet, and you've already got something that's really rich in meaning. This is a working desk, as you can see. If I sit down, like, I've got my water bottle, I've got a reading I've just pulled, I've got these stags I use as tarot card holders like this. I've got somewhere to light candles and somewhere for matches to go. In the middle here I also have a little doll that represents staying connected with the moon, because you see she's got moons on her and a moon on her forehead. And I use my moon decks in there to try and keep in touch with where the moon is. That's a really important part of my practice, and there's my daughter painted a moon on a rock for me. I mean, even down to these books. These are books I've tracked down from my childhood, which are all of these Ladybird books. And for me, these images just sum up my childhood so much. So over the years, I've been tracking down these, and sometimes if I feel the need to step back into nostalgia, to give that inner child bit of me that sometimes gets so upset, like a hug and a cuddle, I'll sit and I'll read one of these stories again. These books here, they're very, very important, and they're out for a reason, because they're kind of doing a magical job. So even on here, this is, yeah, it's a desk, but even this, for me, I class this as like a working altar. Like, those books are a spell. And like, if I really want to activate them, I'll place crystals around them and put a candle in here and go, right, this is really, I really need to focus on this. And if you see above it on this shelf, these are all my childhood toys that I'm tracking back. Like, I'm finally finding them, and the ornament that I had on my bedroom shelf. Like, up on the top shelf, I have my self-love doll, which I bring out when I need to do self-love work. I have all my witchy protection dolls here. I've got more witch dolls up at the top there. Honestly, I just think that if you're utilising the things that you love, anything can become an altar. I mean, for me, this is an apothecary. And it's not like somebody else's apothecary that knows how to work with herbs. I mean, I do have an apothecary downstairs. Do you want to see it? Shall I take you down? I'll take you down and I'll show you. But all of these elements are things that can come out and be placed on the altar. And they're as witchy as anything you can buy in a witchy shop. I've been talking. My dog has snuck in behind me. Hello, Luna. Hi, darling. These are things that I find when I'm out walking that I feel have been whispered to me. And it might be driftwood down on the beach, or stones in the woods. There's lots and lots of feathers that I feel have been given to me. You know, when you see a feather and you just hear a little whisper in your head, and it says, oh, this is for you, go back. I will bring them back, and this is where they get stored. Like, sometimes these will come out to replace things on those altars upstairs. Like I said, the story's continually changing. In order to continually change that story, you do need some tools, and for me, they're tools that, you know, it doesn't need to cost you a fortune. I do like using electric candles, battery operated candles, guys, because a lot of these altars, like, there's no way you could light a candle, and sometimes I feel like to put on a candle, even if it's battery operated, it just activates the altar and tells it to start getting ready. So I've got a nod to the Fae, because I think a lot of these objects have come with Fae permission. So again, I've done that with toys. You can see, I mean, I've got a deck on here that there's normally decks around. I tend to pull a crystal deck for the week and tell the kids what crystals we've got. You can see I've got loads of feathers. If I feel like I've been gifted a feather, I don't feel like I can leave it behind. Now, this used to be in my bedroom, but I've just recently decluttered all my bedroom. It was just getting too much. So this is downstairs in my room with my doll's houses. It's in my spare room. So I've got more perfume oils, I've got essential oils, I've got some incense to burn, I have got different candles. These acorn candles are fantastic. I got those because they're linked with the Dagda. I've got like altar objects, I've got some oil, I've got some flower essences that I've used. Here are flower essence making stuff as well, and different flower essences I'm using. Got some chalice water there. What else? I've got more floating candles for scrying. I've got bells for activating and protection. There's more candles in there. So herbs as well. I mean, I will use things like that as well. I've got cleansing sprays. I've got different soils collected from different areas here, which are all labelled. So that this is from the uprooted tree in the woods where my altar was. When the tree fell, I felt like it told me a message, so I collected the soil and it says uprooted to start again, and I've got the date I collected it. So I will sometimes sprinkle that onto tarot readings, and there's different soils collected from different places. I've got salts down there, like little mini bottles in there. I've got all my jewellery, which I use this doll to activate the jewellery next to a sun. So again, you could almost say that this cupboard top is a little activation centre. And again, I've got jewellery down here as well. So I will use jewellery as well as a magical object too. And then, although this is a crying mess, my doll's houses, when I've got the doll boxes off, there are plans to start building things into here to act as spell objects. You can see I've already got an octopus drawn into that corner. This is in here because I want to build a magic library up there, and I have like a little spell table already here, which I've done some witchcraft work. So even my dolls' houses are becoming sort of witchcraft altars. The top of the doll's house, I'm building a dragon there because I want to start working with dragon energy. But again, I'm seeing like the pattern. There is this sort of ghost bride with her vultures here, which represents kind of what the little cottage upstairs represented, that idea of the past having broken you and having to rebirth yourself. That balcony is a representation of that. So for me, telling that story and then using it to do magic within is what's powerful to me. Like you can see behind the lift here next to a curvy Barbie, there's a Mary. That's in there because I want that energy in the doll's house. It doesn't have to cost the earth. This doll's house was free. This doll's house was £8. This entire doll's house corner, which is taller than me, was £8. So in summary, what makes an altar an altar? I think it's you and your intent and the connections you're forming. It's you that makes the altar. You're literally the living altar, whether you're walking through the woods or whether you're in your garden or whether you're sitting at something that looks more like a traditional altar. It's you, your intent, your purpose, your declaration of what's sacred to you, your loves, your talents, your desires for connection, the goals that you've got personally for your spiritual path, and the conversations that you desire to have and who you want to have them with. You're the living altar. And I think when you embrace that fact, the insecurities of am I doing altars right, or fall away, I think that's the power of this path. You realise that it's within you to decide. I think that's why many of us have stepped away from organised religion. Women especially for centuries have been told what they can think, what they can do. This path is about stepping away from that. You're the altar. And I think stepping away from semantics too. I don't think it really matters what we call these things. I think semantics can be a stumbling block. So whether you want to call it like your desk or a cupboard or a shelf, if you're declaring it as a sacred space, then it's become an altar. And if you go to that place for sacred time that's part of your spiritual path, then that act in itself has transformed the word into altar. It's a meeting place for you either to meet yourself or to meet energy or to meet your practice, whether that's, like I said, in the middle of the woods or in your garden or sitting at your desk or cross-legged on a cushion in front of something that looks more like a more traditional witchcraft altar. It's you. Don't let semantics trip you up. Do not be held back by the words. And also don't be held back by thinking about what objects you're going to put on your altar. Bring your loves, bring your talents, bring your passions to create representations of things that you want to connect with or things that you want to achieve in your spell work. You can work with any object for spells, any object you can craft spells with. Remember as well that it's always a two-way conversation when you bring yourself to an altar. So use things as offerings, but also expect to be uplifted and grounded and enriched at your altar. It is a two-way conversation, and that doesn't mean you need to be talking to gods or goddesses or deity at an altar. If that doesn't sit right with you, then just think of it about coming to source energy or light, and you're filling yourself up with that. It's definitely, I think, a two-way conversation to remember. For that as well, I think practically for me, this area here, something at eye level, a flat surface and a comfy chair, I think some of the more physical elements of an altar that I think are vital for me anyway. This path should always feel empowering, which means that your voice is the one that you need to listen to, not Pinterest posts about what makes an altar and what doesn't. So that applies to listening to this video as well. In this video, I've given my opinions of what makes my altars work for me. If you're watching this video and you think I would never do anything like that, I don't agree with any of that, then that's perfectly right for you as well. I think having altars and walking this path, it is about empowering ourselves, and that does mean centering your voice and your opinions and your intent and your ideas and your passions and your reasonings and all of your correspondences. So I think I've got to the end of this video, and I just want this video to be a green light for anybody who is considering building their first altar or is readdressing changes in what they want to use as an altar. If that's you and you're wondering whether it's the right thing to do, to change everything up, to think outside the box, to do something really different because it's calling you with altars, this is your green light to just go with it. I think empowering ourselves in our path is the most vital component of having an altar. So guys, I hope that that's been useful. I hope it is a green light for lots of you. And I hope that there's been some useful tips in there, or just some permission flags being waved. And I hope that it's helping you drop any insecurities that you might have, which I know I went through as well. So guys, enjoy your practice, and you do you all the time. You do you. It's your voice that counts in your practice. So thanks guys so much for spending time with me at my altars, and I'll see you next time. Bye.